In 1943, when Rosalind Russell was most famous in Hollywood, she vanished without a trace. For decades, she stayed out of the public eye. Being tired was the reason given. Not only does her son Lance tell her the horrible truth, but they also kept other secrets from her. This is the previously unknown Rosalind Russell, from the year of her actual birth to the untold tale of her grief on Oscar night. On June 4, 1907, Russell entered this world in Waterbury, Connecticut. Her childhood home at 305 Hillside Avenue was an enormous mansion with 18 rooms. Affluent was her family status. There was a service staff available to assist with anything. Her famously wealthy father, James Edward Russell, was a top-notch trial lawyer for major corporations. Her mother, the affluent fashion director Clara McKnight Russell, was an employee of Vogue magazine. It was widely believed that Shakespeare's As You Like It was the inspiration for Rosalind's name. Could it be? The SS Rosalind was the inspiration for her name, according to her parents. This peculiar moniker was a perfect fit for her and would alter the course of her life forever. Rosalind attended rigorous Catholic institutions, such as Marymount College in Tarrytown, New York. She yearned for more adventure and excitement despite her secure existence. At the age of 19, she secretly submitted an application to New York City's American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Knowing that her parents would not allow her to pursue acting, she deceived her mother into thinking that she wanted to become a drama teacher. She demonstrated her courage in this modest way, and it permeated her character and her writing. She went on to portray independent women in her later films. After Rosalind received her diploma from the Academy in 1929, she started working. She was unconcerned that her loved ones disapproved of her decision. She posed for high-end designers and appeared in publications as a fashion model to support herself. However, she persisted in seeking out stage roles and never stopped playing. An audition for the Broadway revue Garrick Gaieties in 1930 gave her her big break. A total of 161 performances were held because of its popularity. It was Rosalind's initial experience with celebrity. The summer of 1930 was a courageous time for Rosalind. Despite her parents' disapproval, she enrolled in a Saranac Lake, New York stock company. For 7 months, she performed a new play weekly while residing in a cramped apartment. She performed better as a result of the challenge, though. She had to master the art of rapid thinking and adaptability if she ever wanted to achieve fame. When Edward E. Clive's repertory company opened in Boston in 1931, she became a member. The significance of voice acting for the new talking movies became clear to her during this period. She began taking singing and voice lessons seriously in order to prepare. While in New York in 1932, Rosalind performed an opera in a limited number of venues. However, she soon realized that her voice lacked the power required to perform classical music. Rather than letting this obstacle derail her, she redoubled her efforts. She decided to go to Hollywood and focus on acting. In 1934, Rosalind followed her heart and moved to Los Angeles. Her impressive resume included work as a Broadway actress and model, which helped her land a contract with Universal Studios in no time. But Universal was a nightmare for her. The business treated her poorly, and she didn't feel appreciated on her first day. Universal wasn't the place for Rosalind, and she knew it from the get-go. Not only that, but she was also seen by MGM, Hollywood's most illustrious studio. When Universal asked Rosalind to take a screen test, she interpreted it as her opportunity to escape the company. A cunning plan to avoid her contract was hatched in her mind. That's why she went to such lengths to ensure that Universal would reject her. She met Universal Studios head of film production, Carl Laemmle Jr., on June 15. Rosalind went against his preference for attractive women because she didn't like it. She had an irritating voice, unkempt hair, and poor clothing choices. Her carelessness caused her to slump, and she spilt coffee all over his desk. For half an hour, without ceasing, she bemoaned the terrible experience she had at Universal. Because she made Carl feel uncomfortable and bored, he eventually agreed to let her go. After leaving his office, Rosalind wasted no time getting ready and headed directly to MGM to finalize a new contract. Just 17 days later, on July 2, 1934, Rosalind officially joined MGM. When she inked the 7-year deal, the studio was already giddy about her future. In a flash, she had her big break. She joined the likes of William Powell and Myrna Loy in the film Evelyn Prentice. Despite her brief 12-minute screen time, Rosalind played a significant role as Mrs. Nancy Harrison. However, her influence was substantial even in that brief period of time. She had to act out a breakdown in a courtroom scene, which was a challenging moment for her during filming. She fumbled through the scene at first because she was terrified of appearing alongside such famous actors. William Kay is the name of the director. In front of everyone, Howard became enraged and swore at her. Rosalind kept her composure and channeled her genuine rage into her performance. Everyone was taken aback by her powerful performance, which included tears. Critics were quick to praise Rosalind upon her release on November 9, 1934. Her work was so lauded that she was even named in an article in the New York Times. Her weekly salary was increased from $300 to $500 by the folks at MGM after they noticed her talent. Her career was taking off, and she had roles in 3 more films by year's end. Her breakthrough came with the 1939 release of the film The Women. Getting the part was no picnic. After another actress failed to impress director George Cukor, Rosalind was cast to play the lead role. A chance was given to her when she entered his office and introduced herself, saying, "My name is Sylvia Fowler." But things went wrong with the first 4 screen tests. Her performance was over the top and unfocused in his opinion. Every time Rosalind returned to her dressing room, she would cry, but she would never give up. The 5th and final test was her best effort. She learned cat-like movements by observing a panther at the zoo and spent $500 on a handmade outfit. She gave it her all, and that paid off. Her casting as Sylvia Fowler was official on April 25, 1939. When filming started in May, Rosalind was involved in more than just acting. She collaborated with the stylist to design Sylvia's distinctive flipped hairstyle, which quickly gained popularity among her devoted followers. Released on September 1, 1939, the film was an enormous success. The reviews were raving about Rosalind's performance, praising her quick mind and comic timing. With the film's over $2 million in earnings, Rosalind saw a weekly salary increase to $3,000. She was one of the top Hollywood actors because of her comedic abilities. However, a famous incident occurred on June 17, 1939 during their filming. Rosalind and her co-star Paulette Goddard were filming a confrontation scene. The catfight, which was supposed to be entertaining, turned into a tiring and angry ordeal after 14 takes. On take 15, things started to spiral out of control. Rosalind bit Paulette on the leg in her intensity. When Paulette let out a scream of agony, the gunfire had to cease. Paulette required 3 stitches after Rosalind's bite sliced through her flesh. Paulette allegedly hurt herself while horseback riding, so the studio fabricated a story to tell the press. Paulette would not speak to Rosalind for weeks despite her attempts at an apology, which were prompted by her shock at what she had done. They reconciled and eventually became friends. The bite left Paulette with a small scar on her leg, which appeared in a few of her subsequent films. Rosalind finally discussed it publicly in her 1977 autobiography, though it did not make it into the finished film. According to her, I've played many animals on screen, cats, snakes, you name it, but that day she actually became one of those animals. Although I've regretted it for decades, that one incident taught me a great deal about the difference between acting and reality. In Hollywood lore, the bite scene is legendary. The family still owned the dress Paulette wore during the infamous scene, according to Goddard's granddaughter, who made the revelation during the 80th anniversary showing of the women at the TCM Classic Film Festival in 2019. During Hollywood's golden age, Rosalind Russell was among the most renowned stars in the world. The 1940 film His Girl Friday, starring Cary Grant, was her breakthrough role. It was originally intended that Hildy Johnson not play the role. Carole Lombard was originally entrusted with it by director Howard Hawks, but her fee was exorbitant. A number of other famous people also declined, including Jean Arthur, Irene Dunne, and Ginger Rogers. She attempted to play the part despite Russell's doubts about her abilities. Hello there, hello there! A whopping 240 words per minute, nearly 3 times the speed of speech, was much to the delight of the listeners. In order to stay up, Russell would spend hours each day working on her lines. She was so exhausted from practicing that she fainted and developed a stammer, which she had to overcome with much effort. The fact that she improvised throughout the show was icing on the cake. Russell hired a copywriter in secret to give her character more lines because she thought she was lacking in dialogue. Unexpectedly, she inserted these into scenes, forcing Cary Grant to react swiftly to her impromptu remarks. Their on-screen chemistry felt more vibrant and exciting because of this. Because Russell felt she had done an awful job, she stormed out of the theater midway through the premiere of the film. However, the film was a financial success, launching Russell to stardom and grossing over $2 million, a substantial sum for 1940. For a living, Russell was involved in more than just comedy. In just 5 years, she received 3 Oscar nominations, each for a distinctly different role. She played the Ohioan Ruth Sherwood in the 1942 film My Sister Eileen, despite the fact that Russell was a Connecticut native. To perfect her Midwest accent, she spent months working with a dialect teacher. Her performance was so lifelike that people believed she was originally from Ohio. She portrayed Elizabeth Kenny, an Australian nurse who developed a contentious method of treating polio in the 1946 film Sister Kenny. This part resonated with Russell because her nephew had benefited from Kenny's methods. Over the course of 6 weeks, she imitated Elizabeth Kenny's every move and learned her mannerisms.